evening. We are here for the regular trustee meeting. It's Monday, January 23rd, 2023. It is 5:01 p.m. If everybody like to stand for the pledge. I
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. We have an agenda. Are there any changes or corrections?
No.
Make a motion to approve the agenda for January 23rd, 2023 meeting as presented.
Mr. Kratz will need to also excuse Ms. Wallace from today's meeting. As the,
And to excuse Ms. Walsh from today's meeting.
yeah.
Second.
Trustee Crutz,
Yes.
Trustee Dean.
Yes.
Make a motion to approve, accept the general ledger report in the amount of $346,743.34 for the January 11th, 2023 payroll.
Second.
Trustee Crutz,
Yes.
Trustee Dean.
Yes.
Make a motion to accept the payment listing reports in the amount of $1,204,820.87 for warrants through January 19th, 2023.
Second.
Trustee Crutz,
Yes.
Trustee Dean.
Yes.
Make a motion to approve the January 9th, 2023 regular trustee meeting minutes as presented.
Second.
Trustee Crutz,
Yes.
Trustee Dean.
Yes. All right. We've reached the portion where citizens desiring to speak can stand up, and we can have 3 minutes each if you're interested. I don't see anybody. Old business, there is none. New business, Mr. Zaharia.
Thank you, Board. First item is on page 13 of your packet, also in front of you, is the draft agreement for the consultants for the PR firm. As the Board recalls, we entered into agreement for 3 months last year, budgeted for full year in 2023's budget. This will be 2023's budget. As the Board had asked me, if you look at 18, the effective date shall be reviewed at the 6-month mark as the Board requested. So I will be bringing it back in May to discuss it before either side will have to give notice for termination or automatically continues. There is a sample motion on your screen there on page 15.
Any questions?
I'll make a motion to approve the strategic communications service agreement as presented and authorize the township administrator to sign for the board.
Second.
Trustee Crutz,
Yes.
Trustee Dean.
Yes.
Thank you, Board. Our next item on the agenda is just an update. Our new website went live last week. We did do some social media blasts over the weekend for it as well. I do want to thank the committee for their hard work. We've been working on this for quite some time. We have training scheduled with the committee, I believe, on the 30th to finalize any changes. But it's got a fresh look, a lot of changes there. Most of the content's still the same, but we took in consideration some of the comments we heard from not only staff but also residents. So I do want to thank each of the departments were represented, and I want to thank them for their hard work because it really looks nice, both websites. Next item is on page 16 of your packet is the monthly report for the Greene County Sheriff's Office. Are there any questions?
I had no questions on the report on if there's any awareness items that are coming up that we need to head off. No. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Board. Next item is the Human Resource Monthly Report. Are there any questions?
I have none.
I had no questions. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Board. Next item is on page 30 of your packet is the monthly report for the Community Development and Risk. I'll turn it over to our Fire Marshal.
Afternoon, Board. How are you? Just want to give a little update on the comprehensive land use plan. We've been working with Planning Next pretty diligently. We've got some draft versions of some existing land use plans that are out there, future land use plan maps, and we're kind of finalizing some additional items. We also have some drafts of some character area descriptions and existing conditions and some of the visual stuff related to that. On the 17th, the department hosted the 4th steering committee meeting with the comprehensive land use plan. And all these previous documents were evaluated. There was a lot of good feedback. The committee itself expressed some very positive opinions about how the overall process was going, and how the department's been transparent on all the committee objectives. So that was very, very positive. So in turn, that kind of leads us to the next event that's out there. We had one public outreach meeting already last year. We are planning another one, a second round of public engagement. We're going to be hosting an open house to do that. That's going to be held on February 28th. We don't have the exact location pinned down just yet. It should be in here. We'll let you guys know by the end of this month, in the next week or so. But we're communicating that to you so that you can tell any kind of public members, and obviously express that to the public that we're going to be out there just to increase awareness, and we're going to publicize that on Facebook and some other various social media things. So any specific questions on the comp plan and how that's going?
What's the in-touch schedule? When is that going out? And do you need to put something in there?
Yes.
Deadline's coming up, but it will be after. Yeah.
Distribution will be after.
Yeah, it'll be after.
We're going to put a snippet in there about the next phases, but the community interaction for this specifically, the public outreach, that specific item, will not be in there for In Touch. So, but we're going to try to express it in all the other avenues that we have. So,
Sure.
And then the only other thing besides the monthly report now is just giving an update on 1800 Ash Meadow Court. It was a home occupancy that we ran into. They were continuing to enforce the zoning resolution. Ms. Brown and Mr. McConnell actually delivered a summons from the Fairborn Court to the residents of 1800 Ash Meadow. They worked with Prosecutor Dietz to engage the enforcement action, and they have a court date which was come and gone, and it just provides you information that we are still working on that and pursuing that.
What's the violation? Operating a dog kennel in a residential neighborhood?
It's occupation of a dog sitting occupation. In that they actually went to zoning, the Board of Zoning Appeals. Board of Zoning Appeals denied that occupancy or that
Is
that
dog
appeal.
sitting actually? I'm just curious. Is dog sitting actually a permitted or conditional use, or is it listed as an excluded use, or is it?
It is
Is it permitted or conditional in any zoning category we have?
It is no. It is not. If
So
I'm
they
not
need
mistaken, it is-
a variance to have it in
Right.
a residential neighborhood. So for home occupant or home business,
I'm curious. Is the violation kenneling then, or is it?
No, it's the home business.
it's the home business.
right. The
It
business.
doesn't
I'm
matter
sorry.
what it is.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's not necessarily what they're doing. It's the fact they're running a business out of there where multiple customers are coming to the home.
Right.
So whether
They
it's
went-
dog business or any other, so
You've obviously looked at it, Ms. Rick, from a legal
Yeah.
standing.
Yeah, no, I was here for the,
Babysitting out of your home?
well, if you had if it was babysitting versus if you were running a daycare.
Right.
So,
For profit.
yeah.
yeah, what the BZA has to take in consideration with the variance process in residential is impact on the neighborhoods and the amount of traffic,
Yeah.
drop off, pickup. So a lot of our variance cases for businesses in a residential neighborhood, there's usually no traffic. They're just running a business out of their home. Yeah.
Yeah, this was actually generating traffic. It was, again, it went to the Board of Zoning Appeals, which was denied, and there were still complaints about them running the business, so that's why. So,
So is there any updates after that January 9th court case? So what happened at the
Not-
court hearing?
not of yet, no.
So far, it's just a summons.
Yes.
Okay, very good. Okay.
Okay. Any other questions? I want to apologize. I did have a slight mistake in our monthly, and I'll make that correction in the next.
Single digit or double digit?
No single.
I didn't hear what you said. I'm sorry.
Single digit or double digit?
Double.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, board. Next item is the monthly report on page 41 for the IT. Are there any questions?
I had none. Thank you.
Thank you, board. Next item is on page 43 is the monthly report for finance department. Are there any questions?
Do we have any major I'm trying to remember from a budget meeting, any major projects for finance this year? There's no new software, there's no implementations, there's no integrations. We're on cruise control.
Yeah, we're on cruise control.
Nice.
We might be looking at cemetery software.
Yeah, that's really, yeah. So one of the things we are looking at OTA that Terry and I will be investigating is some cemetery softwares that are out there.
Okay.
So,
That ties into the road department or public service department? I'll take my-
correct. So it's actually, it's under the fiscal officer.
But I mean, as far as I understand that, but as far as this is a management of keeping an inventory of the grave sites, or this is the transactional? Side?
Everything.
Okay. It's all
Yep.
one.
Yep. So that's what we're going to be looking at is our current vendor. We've had some issues lately, and it's several years old in regards to software. The problem with it, it's a single vendor. And we're anticipating that it could be at end of life. We definitely want to get ahead of it and make sure that when we're looking at other softwares, maybe even a cloud-based software, something that's very similar that will track, the site as well as deeds, a sale of property and transfers of property in the cemetery, and interact with our website like our current vendor does.
Interact as far as find your grave or find your...
Yeah, so currently on our website, you have the ability to look at, pick a lot and see who owns it and who may be buried there.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, board. Public Service Department. I'll turn it over to Mr. Parks. Our first item is, it's not, I apologize, wasn't in we fixed it in your packet. But the first thing is Factory Road RFP.
Yes, this is to get the project out to bid. Our goal was to have it out in back in January. We've hit a few hiccups. We want to try to get it out there, try to get some better pricing since it's off-season. So this is a project that we took on 24 months ago to look at different ways to decrease the flooding of Factory Road. Our consultant came up with different options of one, raising the road 5 feet, which we didn't really consider that an option. Yeah. And then building ponds in the city to catch some of that water coming across. That really isn't a problem unless we have extreme weather. Our biggest problem is the backflow from the creek through the tunnel out onto the roadway. And we have done some modifications down there. It drains quicker. However, when the creek's up, you're not stopping the water from coming back. This project puts like a one-way valve in that box culvert. So it can't come back out to the road, but it can still flow out when the level drops. I kind of included in the packet plans. I'm going to call it a rough draft, a draft of the bid And the advertisement, we're doing this through Bid Express with the county. So there's gonna be a couple minor details that might change to put it in their format. But other than that, the general concept is there. We would just like to get it out to bid end of this week, if we could.
So question, and I'm not a civil engineer, so I won't pretend to be, but if I have, does this one-way valve box culvert, does it only close if it's not raining?
No,
So if it's continuing to rain and it closes and water can't come into it, where does that water go?
downstream.
Down the ditch line on the
Down
south
the-
side of factory. Which is what
You have to make the ditch line deeper.
we don't have to make it deeper. We are gonna make some modifications to it so that when it allows it to flow south. All the modifications we did 4 or 5 years ago will be more than enough according to the design that Choice One came up with. So it is, the problem is when there's a levee, we call it the levee on the Beavercreek side. And it's designed to use hydraulic pressure to pull the water out of the culvert along the creek. But once the water comes over the levee, it backfills into the culvert, forcing it back out onto Factory Road. So if the one-way valve is closed, then everything is flowing south at that point.
And then, I can't remember the name of that street that goes up into Arlington, so does it cross back over to the river before that street, or when it, does it go?
No,
under that
it'll
creek
go
or
straight down and it'll make it to the creek through,
So it goes under.
Another
I wanna
culvert.
say LMI's property, but it's.
Yeah.
LMC.
So there's another catch basin on the south side of the county's property, which there's 2 catch basins. We found one and cleared it out several years ago. And then there's another catch basin. So what we'll take is all the overflow that is coming down essentially from the Terra Pond and those developments. That's where that comes across. We redid that ditch line. It's more than enough in capacity. So the water from the culvert, once it closes, will go into that, under the plant and out into the Beaver Creek, where we made modifications on the south side between LMI's property and the county's property. The neighborhood in the township flows a different direction. In fact, the neighborhood actually flows to the Little Miami. So it comes across and then it comes out into LMI's property, and that actually goes due south right into the Little Miami River.
Did any impact from Sky Crossing yet?
No,
That water's.
it will not. We took that into consideration with a consultant, and they actually came out and did I guess you'd call it a flood survey. And with some of the modifications, when they put that development in, that helped. However, looking long-term, that's when they brought up maybe additional pond storage and all that. We don't have control of that property, and it would be very cost prohibitive to do that currently. But we are gonna share the report we got and the modifications we're making with the city, since it's in their control, to maybe put some of those things in place down the road.
So the city did provide all the information when we were working with the civil engineers of the approved development, including the housing development on Shakertown, or corner of Shakertown and north Alpha Belbrick, as well as the store and lock and commercial buildings that were approved several years ago, directly across from the water treatment plant. So we took all those site plans, they provided it to us, or to our civil engineer group, Choice One. We took in consideration all that. What they were looking at is the future of not only we have enough capacity for those two, the question comes is what happens at corner of Factory, 35 and Shakertown. And that's where we talked about additional capacity on the southern side of Shakertown, the new realignment of expanding some of those ponds down there. It's all in the floodplain anyhow, so they couldn't build there, and there's some wetlands back there as well, so they can't develop that little piece. And you notice when the realignment of Shakertown took place, they put another detention system in down there. We're talking about another expansion of the current pond on Mr. Arnold's property that is by the wetlands.
And was your study completed, not to beat this to death, but was your study completed before? So there's two properties. There's one at the northeast corner of Yellow Brick and Factory, and then there's one at the southeast corner where the billboard is. And those two properties were elevated up out of the floodplain. They filled.
Yeah, but they still drain to the creek.
It was after the fill, yeah. Which is what forced the detention system on the realignment of Shakertown.
Will the one-way valve allow for enough flow out?
Yes.
Or will it?
It will. Once the water gets down, kind of like it does now, it will allow any water that's in or coming across to flow out and then down in the modification we made earlier. This is just, I don't know how you would call it. There's like a dam so that it doesn't deadhead like it used to. And once it tops the wall, that's when it starts coming across and back out. Well, once it gets past, the way we have it designed, it actually pulls the water through there. So once the water gets down to a low enough level, it'll pull that water out and send it on downstream.
Yeah, we're actually, if you look on the screen in front of you, you can see a kind of example of it, but the outflow will actually have three, or taking a square box and putting an outflow of 3 round. They'll have,
Yeah, I think it's 3 24-inch round
yeah.
pipes.
And we looked at similar projects that are being used along the Miami River. In fact, there were several of these placed in along the Miami River in Montgomery County. And they seem to be working great for that. And mostly off creeks, and this is a little bit different. So in Montgomery County, it's a creek going into the river where they're preventing it from going back into the creek. So they're actually stopping the creek from flowing out into the river at that point. Here, we're just talking stormwater.
The assumption, and obviously you have to see what happens with the ditch line, is that as soon as that closes, it's just going to flood over the road. So
Yeah.
You've got that designed in. So.
Yeah, it was taken into consideration because whether there's not that much that comes across at the moment.
No, but when you stop it, well, if it's backed up, it's backed up. It's still not.
Yeah, well, but this is blocking off the major cause.
Yeah.
Not to say that the roadway won't flood in the future with our 100-year floods we have every other day around here, but it will definitely slow it down.
Yeah, most of this west side flow, as many times as Mr. Parks and I and Mr. Schroeder have been down there, most of the west side flows to the southern end where it comes across where Terra Pond comes through. It's when that water comes over that levee on the Beavercreek onto the county's property, and then it just backflows. And then there's nothing on the east side of the road, doesn't allow it to escape. So now we're going to stop it and allow that to go straight south. One option we did look at, believe it or not, was that one of the options was to fill it up with concrete, close it off. Unfortunately, when looking at that, most of the plant itself, when it comes to stormwater, goes into that 4-inch tile at some point, or 4-foot tile, not 4-inch. Yeah, 4 foot. Sorry, 4 by 4 by 4. So we couldn't.
Yeah, I can just picture it getting pretty calm there, and the beavers getting all settled in, and that baffle opens and flushes them right into the river.
Sorry about your luck finding a home.
We'll move the dams down the river.
I'll make a motion to approve advertising for the Factory Road Stormwater Project and authorize the township administrator to sign for the board.
Second.
Trustee Kratz?
Yes.
Trustee Dean?
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you, board. Next item is the monthly report. Are there any questions?
I have no questions.
Had no additional questions either. Thank you.
You're welcome. Can a nice night.
Thank you, board. Next item is on page 67 of your packet is a surplus. A list of surplus there. It's all related to fire. So if there anything that's going to go on gov deals will be put back into the fire fund. You can pass it as presented.
I'll make a motion to approve resolution number 202-30123-fire-A, a resolution finding certain township equipment to be surplus and to dispose of it as
Second.
presented.
Trustee Kretz?
Yes.
Trustee Dean?
Yes.
Thank you, board. Next item's on page 70 is the monthly report for the fire department. Are there any questions?
I had no questions. Thank you.
It's like a busy period.
Yeah.
I had no other questions. Thank you.
Thank you, board. That's all I have.
Okay. Legal advisor?
I don't have anything today.
Thank you. Fiscal officer?
Nothing further, thank you.
Thank you. Alright, meetings. Miami Valley Regional Planning Commission?
No
Ms.
report.
Wallace is
Not
No,
here.
Ms. Wilson, no.
I didn't know if
Nothing
anybody
to
heard.
report. I had nothing.
Okay.
On TAC, I don't know.
TAC will be, we had a meeting, so it'll be on the next monthly report. So it'll be in February for January. We'll have the agenda on there. Mr. Schroeder and Mr. McConnell both attended the meeting.
Regional Planning Coordinating?
There's a full commission meeting tomorrow evening. We had a special meeting this afternoon. One of the items from that special meeting will make its way, well, three of the items from that meeting will make their way, but one of them impacts the township as far as from a 2024 budget standpoint. So there'll be essentially the executive committee made a recommendation for a slight increase in fees to township, to all the essentially member communities. The impact to Beavercreek Township was de minimis, but it was, I can tell you exactly what it will be if it should pass. Give me 1 second. It was in the range of a nickel per capita, so it sounds a little, so $417.25 would be the increase for Beavercreek Township. So, if it should pass tomorrow, the executive committee is gonna make a recommendation that it be accepted, so. Otherwise, I don't believe there's anything on the agenda related to Beavercreek Township.
Okay. Health Department, next meeting is first Thursday of February, so I'll have that for later meeting. School superintendent?
Nothing with the superintendent. Did have a discussion with the city manager. It does sound like that the grant that we submitted with the city of Beavercreek for the design construction for Dayton Xenia Beaver Valley is going to be awarded. So hopefully we'll hear more this week. I do have my regular meeting with the city manager on Wednesday. Unfortunately, I called him and told him we had to cancel, so we had a little phone conversation, but because of the Ohio Township Association conference this week. And no meeting regarding Wright-Patterson Air Force Base. The Greene County Water and Wastewater Committee meets Thursday, so I might have something there for you. I'll have someone else attend in my absence.
Township Association, Ms. Wallace is not here. And investment oversight.
Investment oversight, nothing to report, at least from my end. Maybe Mr. Rushing has something on his end. I mean, bond rates are still strong.
Correct. We got information from our investment advisor. It seems to be that the most view that interest rates will continue to rise at least 2 more times this year. There is some belief that the Fed may cut rates at least once by December. But right now, as a matter of fact, I just purchased another CD today at about 4.4%. So the rates are doing pretty well.
Is that a 5-year or a 1-year?
2-year.
2-year.
Okay, thank you.
Mrs. Zahara, if you know, for the February Township Association meeting. Is there a location for that yet? Do you know?
I don't know if anybody's hosting it. We could not, they asked us if we could do February, but there was a conflict. So March is the county engineer's office, so I believe we have April. So I'm gonna confirm that and then we'll start, yeah. So, March will be the engineer and then April would be us.
Okay.
I'll make a motion to go into executive session under Ohio Revised Code, section 121.22G1, to consider the employment and compensation of public employees.
Thank you. Second?
Trustee Crutz.
Yes.
Trustee Dean.
Yes. Make a motion to return to our regular trustee meeting out of executive session at 6:41 p.m.
Second.
Trustee Dean.
Yes.
Trustee Crutz.
Yes.
Motion to adjourn.
Make a motion to adjourn.
Second?
Trustee Crutz.
Yes.
Trustee Dean.
Yes. Thank you.
Thank you.
Have a nice night.